Ladies and gentlemen, it's the video you all been waiting for the last 2 days or so. So when I gave you guys the teaser about it for, I think it was Tuesday's video, yeah, for Tuesday's video, yesterday's video actually, I told y'all that this was a call out. So that's actually not the right phrase, right? I meant to say this was me responding to. So yes, it's another one of those videos where I respond to somebody that somebody had to say about something. And like I said in the previous 2 videos where I've done a response to, again, this is not beef, there's no drama, there's no animosity or anything like that. It's basically me responding to what other people have said, and in this case, we're talking about an event that happened over 2 weeks ago in LA, referring to the Go to Unova event in LA. Why are we talking about that? That's over 2 weeks old, that was in LA, not everybody get to go to that. The reason why that is being talked about is because people are still talking about the event that happened a week later. And that was the global version of that exact same event. And because of that, they are bringing up the LA version. So what we're about to do here is we're about to respond, or really react, to somebody else's opinion on the Unova tour, whether it's the LA version, the global version, really both of them. So let's not waste any time. Let's get on with it. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. It's the boy Kyurem for today's day is Monday, March the 10th. Okay, let's not waste any time. This is going to be a long video, I'm letting you know right now, because the video I'm about to respond to is 18 minutes long. So grab some snacks, grab a drink, because this is going to be a long video. So let me give you guys pretense real quick. So obviously we got Mr. 7 videos up right here. So he came out with a video. This was, I want to say a day ago, maybe longer than that, like 2 days ago, as of me watching this video. Now, I saw the title and I saw only the first 2 minutes of it, and then I was like, you know what? Let's react to this video, because I'm going to respond to it, but let's do it in a different way. We're going to react to this. Alright, so we are going to react to this video, so let's not waste any time, and let's get on with the reaction. Let's go.
The Unova Tour was one of the largest events of 2025, and it's no secret, it kind of sucked. I personally didn't play the whole weekend, and those who did left the weekend feeling like something was missing. Something was missing. The magic these youth events typically have just wasn't there. And today I'm going to talk about why. Whoa.
Did he have like a dentist appointment? Cause like, I'm like, wait a minute, what's up? Like, did he have like a filling or something? Like, what's up? What's going on here? But let's move on.
What was missing from the Unova Tour? Why did it feel so dull compared to the past events? And I know some of you may be thinking,
well, that's just how it is. The global tour event always kind of sucks because of the in-person events, and they're always so good.
Listen,
I mean, I would be perfectly honest. This year isn't a good example, but the previous 2 years, the global version has been much better for me than the in-person event in terms of the actual gameplay, not the experience as a whole, because we talk about hooking up with friends that I don't get to see all the time and going to a place that I don't normally get to visit all the time. So aside from the experience outside the game, now the experience within the game, global has been better for me these past 2 years. This year, it was neck and neck, actually, I want to say. I'm going to just say it was neck and neck. But the previous 2 years, global's been better for me. But let's move on.
I didn't play the in-person event this year, but all of my friends did. I talked with all of them, and everybody said that this was easily the worst tour event that we've had in person.
He didn't talk to all of them. I'm just going to say that. He didn't talk to all of them. But let's move on.
And I didn't miss all that much, except for Fleece King, who got 3,000 Shinies and 200 Hundos from 100 grades. So although, yes, the in-person Unova Tour event was better, it still wasn't great, and most people who played it kind of just treated it as like one huge raid weekend. So why did this go so poorly, and does this say something about the potential future of Pokemon Go live events, like the upcoming Go Fest, which was just announced for 2025? Let's start with the most important part of the week.
Okay, that little part right there, I feel like it's over the top a little bit. Now, in terms of the in-person event, the LA version, now keep in mind, by the way, there's 2 in-person versions of this event. There's obviously the one in New Taipei. I haven't heard anybody say anything about that one, because to be honest, I don't know anybody who went to that one. It was really all about LA in terms of the 2. It was really all about LA. But at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily call this year's in-person event, the LA one anyway, the worst one. And I'll explain why later on in this video. But let's move on. Let's see if the reason presents itself, or if I have to wait to the very end of the video to state the reasoning. But let's move on.
Weekend, by far, hands down, raids. The biggest release of the weekend was Black and White Kyurem, and in order to get them, you had to do an absolute load of raids. I think it was something like 10 raids per form, which is a lot. 20 raids at the weekend is a lot. But it was super worth it because Reshiram and Zekrom and Kyurem are all very, very good legendaries, and they're all worth raiding. It's
okay, I don't know about Kyurem by itself. I want to say Kyurem doesn't have a lot of play in Master League without question, because I believe that's Dragon and Ice, and to bring in a good fighter and it'll be Dunzo. Bring in Ho-Oh with the fire move, it'll be Dunzo as well. So I don't know about Master League. And in terms of raids, Kyurem, Dragon, you can do much better. Ice, you can do much better as well. So Kyurem by itself, it doesn't have much play in the game, but it was still a necessity to do those raids because of the whole fusion fiasco. Let's move on.
great candy, and the fused forms that you could get from them throughout the weekend are like some of the best in the game right now. So super worth the raids. Not to mention, obviously, all of the legendaries, they could be shiny, they had special catch card backgrounds that you can get, so overall the raids were really worth doing over the weekend, and most people did them. But unlike past events, there were no free raid passes throughout the entire weekend at all.
Okay, so I'm not sure y'all can see this, but I actually brought up PokemonGo.fandom.com, and they actually have the list of every single in-person event, like they talked about and stuff like that. So this is, let's go to Hoenn, because Hoenn, well, really they did do an in-person event in Johto, but that was not in America. They had two of them actually. They had one in Mexico, and they had one in Taiwan. They're supposed to do one at Abu Dhabi, but they canceled it due to COVID. But they did do this was the first ever in-person Pokemon Go tour event. And it was not in America though. It was not in America. So let's focus on one that was in America. The first ever one in America. That would be the Hoenn one. So looking at the features, okay, you got up to free, well, hold up. We want the global, we want the global, we want the global. So based off of that one, we want the global. We don't want the in-person, because the in-person you have to pay for that one. So the global, I'm looking at this one. So let's take a look at the features. Okay, the spawns increase, Pokemon's and eggs, raid battles, exclusive moves available, theme, field research, special research available, time research available, and collection challenges. And so there's the theme spawns, there's the raid bosses, but I'm not seeing anything about free raid passes for the global version for Hoenn. Let me see if there's anything in the trivia. This is the first, lasted for 2 days instead of one. This is the first Pokemon Go tour that featured the, okay, it's a paid content. Let's see, Latios, hello, okay. Yeah, there was nothing here that says, oh, you have to pay, oh, you get free raid passes. So there's that one. Now let's take a look at the Sinnoh version, the global one that is. So let's take a look at this one. So half egg has distance, and then you got trading 50% discount, 6 special trades, no limit on remote raids. Okay, because obviously this was the first time since the whole remote raid limit became a thing. And then obviously the spawns increase, theme Pokemon and eggs, theme Pokemon raid battles, exclusive move available, theme field research, and Pokestop showcase. And let's see, anything about free raid passes? I don't see anything about free raid passes here either. So for the past 3 global events, for really all 3 global events, they have not gave out any free raid passes. Now what they have done, or what they might have done, is they might have gave out a paid add-on. So that might have happened, but in terms of like a free raid passes with a free event, because by the way, all 3 of these were free. All 3 of these global versions were free. Like none of them was paid. So I'm gonna throw that out there as well. So yeah, that's not accurate to say. Let's back up again.
Weekend, and most people did them. But unlike past events, there were no free raid passes throughout.
That part's not accurate, because the past 3 global events, there was no free raid passes. Now the in-person ones, yeah, you get those for free, and then you can get the add-ons. But in terms of global, like all 3 global events, nah. In terms of Go Tour, that is, not Go Fest, Go Tour. Nah, they never offered free raid passes.
Throughout the entire weekend at all. You just had to use your 1 daily free raid pass. You might have a second right now because of the seasons. I don't know, do you? Corey, do you know? Do we have a second free raid pass?
You could get a second one if you don't do a raid Friday, and then it carries over to Saturday, so you could do it that way. But outside that, there was no seasonal bonus where you could get more than 1 raid pass, or premium battle pass as Pokemon Go calls it, but whatever.
Season. Who knows? And the no free daily raid passes during the Unova tour was pretty painful for a couple of different reasons. For one, as I'm sure we all experienced, myself included, the catch rates for the legendaries felt low. Although what I think happened basically is the catch rate for the legendaries was normal, but on a big event like Unova Tour, where there's so much else happening in the game, there's wild spawns that you want to be catching, there's eggs and shiny regionals that you want to be hatching, there's field research you want to be hunting, there's so much you want to be doing at once that just sitting there spending 5 minutes trying to catch a legendary Pokemon, like, it really feels harder to do and longer than it actually is.
So, okay, well, yeah, that's pretty much the definition of a low catch rate. So he's actually correct. Yeah. I had to think about it. I'm like, wait, is that accurate? And then I had to think about, like, I know it's been dancing around and fighting around. Well, it's a mixture of both. So yeah, the catch rate for Kyurem was indeed low. And I want to say it was low for another Pokemon. I don't think it was the case for Reshiram and Zekrom, but it was something else that was in the raids, I want to say. And oh, you know what? I might be thinking of the Genies at the in-person events, because they were dancing all over the place. They were not staying in the Pokeballs. That was a bit of a struggle as well. But it was the combination. So yeah, he was correct. It was a combination of the fact that the catch rate was low, because they would always pop out of the Pokeballs, in combination with the fact that they were constantly jumping around and constantly attacking. Although that part is not a attribute of a low catch rate, that's just a part of Kyurem being a pain in the carcass. So it was the combination of both that, yeah, you're gonna be spending a lot of time trying to capture this Kyurem, because you do need that candy, you do need that candy XL, and it was annoying. So yeah, he's on point there. He was on, yeah. It could have been explained in more detail, but yeah, he was on point there. It was so annoying to capture the Kyurems.
So although I don't think the catch rates were like made harder for legendaries, they definitely weren't made easier, which was really felt. And because the catch rates were, as they typically are, a lot of people ended up losing the legendaries that they paid to raid this weekend. I myself had a couple of them flee from me after spending like over 5 minutes.
I want to say at the in-person event, I think 2 or 3 fled all weekend long. But the global version, I think it was like 4 or 5. So yeah, that was a problem. That was a problem.
Hitting excellence, and it's just like, oh my god, you took all this time away from me, and then you run? Which I get. I mean, it's part of the game. It's how raids work. You know, it's always been like this, so I understand that that's just like how it is. But again, it just feels extra tough on a weekend like this, when it's supposed to be big, fun, and exciting, and you're stuck catching legendaries that are super hard to catch, especially with no free raid passes. And then the shiny rates, the IVs, the special backgrounds also just kind of felt low across the board. Like, it was just hard to get a shiny. It was hard to get a catch card background. It was impossible to get both at the same time. Those of you who did get one, congratulations, that's amazing. I'm very jealous. But again, ironically, probably the shiny rates, the hundo rates, the catch card background rates were probably the same as they always are. Legendary raids are 1 in 20 shiny odds. The hundo is always very difficult to get. But again, just because of everything else happening, it just felt like everything felt lower, you know? Especially because this is a boosted weekend, you know? But the raids, nothing was really boosted about them.
So, boosted weekend. So, I want to say the one key element that a lot of people are missing out on, and this was the discussion when I was at the meetup for Free Coco Community Day / the G-Max Battle Fiasco, both events going on at the same time, which don't get me started on that. But, you know, Unova Tour was a discussion, and there's one key element that a lot of people are missing. But, there is a but to that, but we'll get more to that later on in this video.
And on top of that, again, like we said before, in order to get the new fused legendary Pokemon, you had to do a ton of the legendary raids, which, again, no one had free raid passes to do them, so you had to cough up 18 raid passes to even get both of the new Pokemon throughout the weekend. So no free raid passes, terrible catch odds, no boosted shiny rates, and a super high amount of raids required to get the new stuff. Kind of just created a pretty unenjoyable experience for a lot of people just in the raid section, which again was kind of the biggest part of the weekend. And on top of that, Niantic support tweeted, "Trainers, we are aware of an issue where trainers could not obtain special backgrounds from Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem raids after 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, March 2nd. We apologize for the technical issues which caused this. Impacted trainers will receive timed research that awards encounters with guaranteed special backgrounds equal to the number of encounters they would have received during the event during the impacted hours." Stay tuned for more detail.
That last paragraph, I'm kind of concerned about that, cause like, yo, there were some people who probably went hard on those raids. So to say, what's that line again? Equal to the number of encounters they would have received. The number of encounters you may make it, and this is after noon, from noon to what, 6 p.m. So we're talking 6 hours. So we looking at least, and I'm gonna say for an average, we looking at least, if we say 6 raids per hour, we looking at least 60 encounters. So the time research better have at least 60 encounters. To me, in my opinion, that's the average. So I'm like, yeah, cause y'all messed up. You can't get this done in one day. This got to be like a multiple day thing. Like, it got to be a bunch of encounters for like that lasts for a whole week. Right? I'm not joking, but let's move on.
Which is great that they're doing this, and honestly, it's kind of nice to just like get a bunch of free legendary encounters with guaranteed special backgrounds, which is super cool. So this is kind of better, honestly.
And actually, let me think about this. So I'm kind of mistaken, because if I say the average is 60 raids, all of them are not guaranteed to have the background. So, I mean, you can reduce that to 20. So, I mean, I'm gonna say 20. It better not be lower than 20.
Like, I wish I did raids during this time and missed a bunch of them, so I could just get a bunch of guaranteed special backgrounds, because you didn't get that during the weekend, but that did happen during the weekend. So obviously Niantic fixed this, and that's super appreciated, but it doesn't change the fact that it kind of like watered down the experience during the actual gameplay weekend. Now,
okay, so right here he's using a mishap as a reason to ride the Unova tour as a whole was terrible. I'm gonna say that because there's another mishap that happened, not this year, but at another Go Tour event that a lot of people forgot about as well. So, but nevertheless, we'll say that for later.
How could this part have been fixed or avoided? It's kind of easy. To me, it's easy. I'm not a developer, so maybe it's not that easy. But personally, Safari Balls could have been made available, or Ultra Ball, I guess not Ultra Balls, but Quick Balls or Safari Balls could have been made available during this event, which I think is a must. We have to, during these major global events, especially if raids are a big part of it, gotta have some sort of ball that makes catching the legendaries easier. That was the best part of the, what was that, the Safari event, or
Route Area.
Oh god, I'm gonna get flamed in the comments for this, for not remembering it. I'm sorry, it's been a busy day. But whatever event it was last year, right, December, right?
November.
The mighty Pokemon spawning in the Safari Balls, it made the game so great. It was so fun having the Safari Balls and having high catch rates and just being able to like actually grind. So I think having that, especially during a raid-focused, like, global event where raids aren't the only thing happening, I just think it's like a necessary thing.
I agree. He's talking about Route Area, and that was in November. And that was great, by the way. The Safari Balls, what they call it, the Safari Go Balls or whatever, the Go Safari Balls, whatever. It was great, though. The name and whatever, but it was great. It was a phenomenal thing that they did. I totally agree with this suggestion by him, without question. Moving on.
So I think, personally, if legendaries are a huge part of an event, like a tour event or a Go Fest or whatever other big global events, there should always be balls that makes catching easier so that you can, like, get through more raids, which ultimately makes them more money. And any event that has a significant amount of raids required in order to unlock big new things, like fused Pokemon, should always have free daily raid passes, in my opinion. And that's it. Those two things, I think, would have completely fixed the entire weekend in terms of raids and made the experience way more enjoyable.
So, with that said, we already talked about the fact that the previous Gold Tour global events did not feature any raid passes at all. Did not feature any free raid passes. So by that stretch of the imagination, were rating for those two events terrible? And you know, I'm asking you guys in the chat, like in the chat, in the comment section below rather, we're rating for all three, not just this year, but for all three global Go Tour events. Were they terrible because of the fact that, based on what I researched in the middle of this video, I didn't see any indication that free raid passes were given out during global Go Tour at all. This year's, last year, or the year before. I didn't recall seeing anything like that. So let me know. Let me know. You know, let me know if you know, would that make all three Go Tours rating experience better? Let me know.
But obviously raids weren't the only problem, and fixing them wasn't the only solution needed for the Unova Tour. And the next issue is also legendary related, but not in raids, in the wild. As part of the last 4 tour events, we had roaming legendaries in the wild.
We actually had well, no, that's not true. We did have more than 3. The only reason why I'm referring to 3 is because the 3 are in relation to their counterparts, which are the in-person events. So obviously we got, what was it? Hoenn, Sinnoh, and Unova. Those 3 had an in-person version, while Kanto and Johto, well, Kanto definitely did not. Johto, they didn't have one in America, but they did have an in-person event version of that event, but it was not in America. Now let's recap real quick. Roman legendaries real quick. Let's take a look at this fiasco. The Roman legendaries. I want to say that, and I could be wrong, I don't know, that was a Go Fest type of thing. They might have flip-flopped those, but I'm looking at the first ever Go Tour event, and well, obviously he said the last 4. This would be the 5th right here. But I'm looking at the very first Go Tour event. I don't recall there ever being a Roman legendary there. In that case, we talk about the legendary birds, and then we would be talking about maybe Mew and Mewtwo. But Mew was in the special research, and Mewtwo, I don't remember Mewtwo was in raids, and the birds was in raids. So he did say the last 4. So we're not gonna count that. Not to mention, I didn't see anything about the Kanto version, and that one was paid, by the way. That one was paid. Okay, let's take a look at Johto real quick. So with Johto, that one was also paid. So in that case, it was like, could you even count this? Because this one was another global event that was paid. And if they had Roman legendaries, then yeah, it would make sense for Roman legendaries to be featured here because it was a paid event. You have to pay to get all the benefits of this event, which might include Roman legendaries. So again, in this one we had the 3 beasts, Lugia and Ho-Oh. And off the top of my head, I don't recall what the Mythical was for this one. Oh, yeah, and let me see. I don't see anything about Roman legendaries here either. So I don't know. I don't know about this one. So I've not seen anything about Roman legendaries for the Johto one. Yeah, like I said, it seems like that was like a Go Fest thing, but they might have flip-flopped that for a later Go Tour event, global one that is. But I'm not seeing anything about a Roman legendary event. Okay, here it is. Okay, so Pokemon in the wild. These Kanto region Pokemon that evolve into Johto region and legendary beasts have increased spawn rates in the wild and from instance or low modules. So yeah, the 3 legendary beasts were spawning in the wild. Okay, but again, that was a paid event, so we can't count that one because again, that was a paid event. Now let's take a look at Hoenn real quick. So let's take a look at Hoenn and see if there was any legendary spawning around here. And that was Pokemon from Incense. Nothing about legendaries there. Pokemon in the wild. So let me see. Okay, so Latios and Latias. So it would be depending on which badge you got. You either get Latios or Latias. So yeah, okay, and that was a free event. So yeah, Hoenn, yeah, they were spawning around. How about Sinnoh? Let's take a look at Sinnoh. So Sinnoh, Pokemon spawning in the route from Incense. I don't see anything about Legendary so far. Yeah, I don't. And then there's the route fiasco. Yeah, there was nothing in here about Legendaries spawning in the route. So it was really just that one Gold Tour event that was free, that is, where Roman Legendaries were all over the place. But despite that though, now one thing that they did do though was they had the snapshots. Oh wait, no, I take that back, because I'm looking at the snapshots. It says take a snapshot of Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf in the wild. I do see that. Even though it don't mention them being in the wild, which is interesting, but there is a time recess where you have to take a snapshot of those 3 in the wild. So maybe they were spawning in the wild. Okay, so whether they did appear in the wild in the past 2 or 3 Go Tours events or not, he still have a point. They should have been legendaries spawning in the route. He still have a point there. I just want to double check and make sure that there was none, like there was any spawning in the route or not. But he still have a point. Yeah, they should have been spawning in the route. Let's move on.
Meaning you could find and catch a shiny legendary from that specific generation out in the wild for free, which made for some like super fun moments and very rare catches. Like I remember at the Las Vegas Hoenn tour, I think I was trying to catch a shiny Latios for literally 20 minutes. Like it was painful, but I ended up catching it, but it was so fun. But for the first time ever, this tour, Unova tour, did not have roaming legendary Pokemon, and there was no announcement made about why or why not. My theory, simply put, free legendaries just don't make money. But who knows? There might be other reasons, or maybe this was just completely overlooked. But the obvious fix for this issue is just put the roaming legendaries back in the wild. Even if it's just one legendary that you could find in the wild from the generation, this would have been great. And Unova is the biggest generation with kind of a lot of legendary Pokemon. This would have been a great one to have roaming legendary Pokemon. And just the big question is, why would you take that away after 4 years? 4 consecutive years of the same thing, and everyone...
Technically 3 years, and one of them was paid. So we're going to exclude that one. So really the last 2 years.
Loved it. It was one of the most beloved features from the tour event. Didn't have it this year. Now, we all knew this next one was going to be a problem, but I don't think we understood how big of a problem it was actually going to be. Shiny rates. If you didn't know, the tour events didn't always have trash shiny rates for global. And actually, there didn't even used to be a difference between in-person and global, because the first tour event was back in 2021 during the lockdowns with the Kanto generation. So everyone played on the same weekend, the event was fully global, and it was honestly perfect.
And you had to pay. It was $12 USD, or whatever it is in local currency. It was paid. So when you pay to take part in an event like that, obviously the shiny rates are going to be higher because you pay for them. So let's keep that in mind.
The raids, the hatches, the research, and most importantly, the spawns were all fantastic.
Because again, you pay for that.
If you played that event, you will have remembered it is easily the best tour event that has ever happened, and we all very much so look fondly back on it. Then in 2022, we had the Johto Tour, where we all noticed a slight decrease in shiny rates, but the event was still great, and depending on which version you chose, specific Pokemon would have boosted shiny rates in the wild, which was a super sick feature, and helped kind of supplement the lower shiny rates.
So, you know what? I think he was correct. I don't remember, I would have to look at my old video, but I think the shiny rates did dip for Johto, which was a huge problem because guess what? You had to pay for that one. So when you pay for something, the shiny rates were lower than what advertised, that's a problem. Again, I don't remember if the shiny rates was as bad as he said it was or was as low as he said it was, but it's a scenario where I had to look at my old video to see, but nevertheless, if that is the case, this one was paid. You had to pay this one. Like, obviously they had the free version, but if you paid for this one and the shiny rates was low, that's a problem. But if you only took part in the free version or whatever, then, I mean, it's free, what you expect. But, yeah, let's move on.
And it wasn't until 2023 where we saw things really change. The reason why is because that was the year that Hoenn Tour happened, which featured the first ever in-person live tour event in Las Vegas. And what basically happened was they made the Las Vegas event super amazing, shiny rates were very high, it was very fun to play, and they made the global version a bit watered down. Specifically, shiny rates were the thing that was mainly affected between these in-person events and the global events, and they were way lower than both the in-person events and the previous global events.
Now, why is that? Say it with me now. Because the in-person Vegas version, you had to pay to play. Whereas the global version, it was free. That's the difference. It was free. And let's look at it again. How much was the Vegas one? I don't remember how much the Vegas one was. The Vegas one, oh, there it is, $25. No, I'll take that back. Yeah, it was $30. Whoa. So it was $30, and then you had the add-ons like the Raid Lover and the Enthusiastic joint for $15 each, and then you could get an extra day for $25. So all of that was paid. That's the Las Vegas version. The global version, on the other hand, was free. That's the difference. So obviously, the in-person event should have gave you the better shiny odds because again, you had to pay for that one. We talking about $55 to take part on both days, whereas the global one was free. So yeah, the shiny rates was going to be different between the two, although I had a much better time with the global version than I did with the in-person one, like I said again. But let's move on.
From that point on, we kind of all knew that like the global tour event was cooked. The Sinnoh Tour in 2024 was the same, the in-person was very, very good, and the global was just okay. And now in 2025 with the Unova Tour, it's...
Again, the in-person, you have to pay. Global was free.
Seems like the whole thing was just made worse. The in-person included, which is impressive because the rates were already like kind of rough for the Sinnoh Tour. And this obviously created a super kind of overwhelmingly underwhelming experience for a lot of people who ended up playing Unova Tour. I asked you guys on Twitter how you felt about the weekend, about the event. Most people didn't have great things to say. And the reason is, at the end of the day, the reason why these tour events are so fun and everybody plays them and people show up and grind them is for the shinies. I mean, it's you get the chance to hunt all the shiny Pokemon from one full generation. So like if you're missing Pokemon from Unova for your shiny Pokedex, like it's the day or the weekend to grind to catch them. Like people show up and play for the shinies. And that makes it really hard to do when the shiny rates are like absolutely abysmal, like they were during the weekend. And the solution here is simple, kind of just like the rest of the solutions. It's just like make the shiny rates higher. They don't have to be the same as the in-person rates. And again, I'm biased here, obviously, because I travel to the events, but I believe that the in-person events should always be like the best experience because people like pay actual real like money to travel and go to a place, and it is the one thing that sets Pokemon Go apart from every other video game. So for them to lean into it kind of makes sense. So like the in-person events, sure, make them better than the global events. That's fine. But you don't have to make the global events suck. It feels like the global events like gotta suck now. You know, like before a tour event felt like this crazy like Go Fest like insane experience. Now it kind of just feels like a more glorified normal Pokemon Go event with like some boosted shiny rates and like some extra things happening. You know, like it feels more closer to like the average than it does like the not average. So raising the shiny rates in the wild would like solve a lot of this. But what that wouldn't solve were the spawns, which was another problem during this event. Not only were the shiny rates low, but the spawns that you could get, like the Pokemon you could actually catch in the wild, kind of sucked. Which is funny because, fun fact, Unova is the largest generation in Pokemon. So you'd think during an event like the Unova Tour, it would have the most diverse pool of spawns, the most, like, fun spawns, like, the biggest spawn pool. But nope, it kind of sucked. We already talked about no wild roaming legendaries, which is...
Okay, so here's why the spawns suck. The reason why the spawns suck is because of the fact the majority of the shinies for Unova were already in the game. Like, just about every single spawn that took place at Global Unova, and even the in-person ones, were already in the game. They were already in the game. Like, the new ones that were added were the Deerlings, all 4 forms of the Deerlings, and of course the evolutions. And then, not to mention, you also had the 3 regionals. So yeah, those shiny forms were being introduced into the game. But everything else that was spawning from the 4 habitats, their shiny form was already in the game. Even Zorora that were popping up like the first 2 minutes of each hour, that shiny's already in the game. And they had events dedicated to that. And then even with Unknown V. That was the only unknown who shiny was in the game prior to this event. Every other unknown, no shinies was in the game already. So it was really between the unknowns all about Unknown V. Every other unknown, the shinies were already in the game. And then we had the red stripe basculin and the blue stripe basculin from Routes. And I'm like, I want to say they were already in the game too, those shiny forms. They were already in the game. So it was a scenario where just about everything here was already in the game. The shinies, that is. Which is crazy to think about. But yeah, that was the case. That was the case. But another thing that hurts the spawns was the fact that the evolutions were not around. Like the thing that they did with them was, oh, you could teach them new moves. And then some of them, yeah, you could get from Enigma Pokestops with the field research stuff like that. But it was like, so yeah, he do have a point there. But the reason for that is because of the fact that the majority of the spawns, their shinies were already in the game, with the exception of like what? 4, 7, like 7 spawns, 7 shinies that was spawning out and about, or hatchable, whatever the case may be. Technically, if you want to count the evolutions, then okay, 11. But it's just that generation is as a whole is terrible in the sense of the fact that the majority of those shinies were already in the game. So it's like, it was like me, because I didn't really need much. I was like, okay, I just need this shiny, I need 2D shiny, I need all the Dealings, all the Pikachus, Unknown V, and then I need the regionals, and I'm good. And I got most of that done. So it's like, there was not really much of a challenge. But yeah, that's the reason why.
Just like a big reason as to why. And I think the main thing is just there wasn't really anything super exciting to hunt in the wild like we typically have during these events. The Kanto Tour had the brand new shiny Snorlax and brand new shiny Ditto debut, which was a huge hunt. Johto had...
They had more than that. They had more than that. If we were to go back to the Kanto joint, the new shinies, if memory serves it correctly, yeah, Ditto and the Snorlax were a part of it. Obviously, Mew was a part of it as well, but if memory serves it correctly, and I could be wrong with this, I want to say Sandshrew, Shiny Sandshrew didn't come out yet. I want to say, and I'm guessing here, I don't remember off the top of my head, but Shiny Sandshrew didn't come out yet. I want to say Shiny Tangela didn't come out yet. Shiny Horsey didn't come out yet. And again, I'm guessing, I don't remember all the shinies that were not out yet prior to the Kanto version. So I'm not 100% sure, but there was like a good 5 or 6 shinies that was making their debut with this Kanto event. And matter of fact, here we go right here. So it was Snorlax, Ditto, Spearow, Paris, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan. So we talking, and then Mew. We talking 7 shinies making their debut in Kanto, and that's what I'm talking about with the fact that just by every shiny Unova is already in the game. So there was like 7 shinies making their debut with Kanto. Let's see what he gonna say next.
Tons of new shiny unknown on the incense, shiny evolutions spawning like Tyranitar, the shiny legendary beasts were in the wild. Hoenn had a ton of new shinies, including Kecleon, which was a huge hunt.
Let's take a look at Hoenn real quick. I think he skipped Johto. No, he was talking about Johto, but whatever. We're gonna skip Johto. And let's see. I'm not familiar with what new shinies were added to this event, and instead of looking at, we probably need to look at preparation actually. And again, I'm not sure y'all can see what I'm seeing, but let's see. I don't recall what new shinies were added to the game for this event, or because of this event rather. But yeah, the bottom line is this. There were new shinies. Matter of fact, oh, here we go. Shiny Youth Unknown H, and oh wow, they just shortened it to various Hoenn region Pokemon release. So, okay, regionals, I'm assuming. So, obviously, we got the unknowns, some of the unknowns. Oh, here we go, new shiny Pokemon. So, Unknown H, Surskit, Masquerain, Gulpin, Swallow, Torkoal, Cacnea, Cacturn, Kecleon, Tropius, Relicanth, and then, of course, Primal Kyogre, Primal Groudon, and Jirachi. So, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. let's move on.
Hunt, along with Latios and Latios in the wild. Sinnoh Tour had the Rotom Hunt, the Shiny Rotom Hunt, the new Shiny Basculin on routes, and the Lake Trio legendary spawning in the wild. Then with Unova, we had Shiny Deerling. The costume Pikachu was kind of underwhelming. The habitats featured good enough Pokemon, but the really good ones didn't seem to spawn all that much. Pokemon like Vanillite, Roggen.
Okay, I'm gonna stop him right here for a second. Look at this lineup. That was crazy. That's the list of Pokemon new shinies that was spawning for this event. This is Sinnoh, by the way. That's a lot. That's a lot. But again, looking at Unova, he has a point. And that was what I said. The reason why the spawns were kind of bland because the majority of the shinies were already in the game. All right, let's see what this is.
Rolla, Tortuga, Axew, Clink, Cryogonal, Timber, Archon, Emolga, Rufflet, Dino, Scraggy. Barely found any of them, and I don't think I got any of those shiny throughout the entire weekend, and I was playing pretty hard on Sunday. So just unlike with the previous tour events, there just wasn't really anything super exciting to hunt in the wild. And again, the stuff that was exciting seemed like it didn't really show up all that much. Except Zorua. That was an awesome touch, and I think is what really made Unova Tour stand out. At the top of every hour, Zorua spawned everywhere in the wild for the first 2 minutes, which was a great opportunity for people to catch shiny Zorua.
I didn't get a shiny, by the way.
Most elusive, rarest shinies in the entire game. So that was sick, and that definitely was a big hunt during Unova. But that was about it. Everything else in the wild or on incense just kind of felt underwhelming, which is why most people ended up focusing only on raids. So how do you fix this? It's the largest generation of Pokemon. There's so many cool Pokemon in the generation. We absolutely needed higher spawn rates of the more rare, cooler Pokemon, the more like 10-kilometer exclusive stuff, plus spawns of evolutions of certain Pokemon. That would have been great. And obviously wild roaming legendaries, or just more spawns in the wild in general. Which again, just kind of feels like a simple solution. It's just like put more Pokemon in the wild that people actually like and are excited about, and like more people have fun in the wild. Another thing that happened, and I'm not sure how many people actually caught this, but when Niantic was advertising, or when Pokemon Go was advertising the Deluxe Tour Pass in the in-game news, it stated by purchasing a ticket, you'd get a specific avatar pose. But when the pass released, that was silently removed from the pass and the marketing. Nothing was ever said about it. So obviously, like, you should be reading what you're buying before you buy it, but I'm sure some people, like, saw the marketing, got excited about the pose, maybe, and, like, bought it. It's just, like, what happened there? And also the It's Not Over Yet special research has turned into kind of an annoying part of the event, because for most people who didn't complete it, you need to defeat or catch a Reshiram, I think a Zekrom, and you've got to fuse one of them. So if you didn't complete it during the weekend, it's just going to be stuck in your special research tab until these Pokemon come back to raids. Which is like, I don't know, this is kind of a funny thing to complain about, because like, who cares? You know, also it's me. I have like 100 unfinished researches in my research tab. So honestly, I'm happy about it, because as an unfinished research collector, it's another one in my stack. But for some people, I know
that is the fact that he don't complete special research. That's not what I'm referring to. But the fact that that is a problem. That is a problem. So when they drop the legendaries with the backgrounds, so they give us those free encounters, those free special encounters with the legendary with the backgrounds. Zekrom and Reshiram need to be included in that. Yeah, because they did indeed was able to get special backgrounds. So yeah, that needs to be included in that. If that is included in that, this is a fix. No problems at all. That needs to be included in that. Let's move on.
This is kind of annoying, so had to bring it up. Now, I know today's video is overwhelmingly more of an obviously negative video, but it's important to understand that not everyone had a bad time during this event, and if you had a good time, that's great. Don't listen to what I'm saying. As long as you had fun, that's great. I just want to make sure that we identify what about this event wasn't great compared to previous years, so that future events could hopefully be great and better, and we could all have a much better and more fun experience. But some people did. Plenty of people caught a new shiny for the first time, got something new registered in their Pokedex, maybe got like a hundo from a raid or from the wild. Plenty of people had a great time, so like, that's awesome. And personally, I'm not exactly sure why they made the event so bad, you know? Like, there's a template that has worked for 4 years, that everybody enjoyed, that everyone had a good time at, and I understand that like 2021 Kanto Tour happened during the pandemic, and the game is a completely different game now after the pandemic, but like, it was the best one they ever did, you know. So it feels like you look at that and
I wonder why
that was the best, and keep those aspects, the ones that you can keep, for future events. But
That's dangerous.
Every single year with the tour event, it keeps getting more watered down, more underwhelming, more like normal gameplay with a bit of a boost, and it just feels like a mushy, not very sparky, exciting experience. And like that's kind of what happened during Unova Tour. Again, it was worse than Sinnoh Tour. Sinnoh Tour was worse than Hoenn Tour. Hoenn was worse than, you know what I'm saying? So when it comes to Pokemon events, like I'm just not really sure what to expect right now because I definitely will say the game as a whole has felt just more stale. If you're new to Pokemon Go and everything is all exciting and amazing, that's great. Again, don't listen to what I'm saying. I'm an old, jaded player that's been playing nonstop for 9 years. So, like, I have noticed the game's ups and downs, and, like, right now just kind of feels like a down in terms of in-game quality and event quality. Because even the regular events that are happening in Pokemon Go, like the week-by-week events, have all felt extremely underwhelming the last couple of months. A lot of very boring spawns, or the same kind of Pokemon spawning over and over again, not really many new releases or, like, game-changing things. You know, like, with the exception of, like, the Dynamax feature and the Gigantamax feature, everything has felt kind of bland. And Unova Tour felt kind of bland, which is crazy because it's a tour event. I'm just curious to see what this means for the rest of the future of Pokemon Go. Because maybe things are bland right now because less people are working on the game in Niantic because Niantic is about to sell Pokemon Go to another company. So they're just like turning operations down and maintaining the game. Then they'll sell it off to a new company who will then have to take the game and turn the operations back up, right? Maybe that's why things feel like they're kind of on autopilot and they're a little bit boring and bland because like not a lot of thought or energy is being put into it because the game's selling to somebody else soon.
Okay, so in terms of the whole Niantic selling their gaming aspect to another company, I decided not to do a video on that. I'm gonna wait and see if they actually do sell it. If they do sell it and I get permission to speak my mind on it, then yeah, I will speak my mind on it. Let's move on.
That could be happening. Or the game's not selling and Niantic is just not focusing on the game. You know, I don't know. Maybe they're restructuring the company and there's like different like hires and changes and things happening and maybe like the game will be better in like a month or two. Maybe by the time GoFest rolls around it's going to be amazing. I don't know. Who knows? All I know is I did play the Unova Tour and I filmed obviously my experience of it and the link for that video is down in the description below. Check that out, see what I got, and let me know in the comments how did your Unova Tour weekend go. And I'll see you in that video in the description.
Okay, it was never brought up the in-person LA event because he said he talked to his friends, not all his friends, but he talked to his friends and apparently a number of them said that the in-person event was not good. And I'm not gonna say any names, but one person said that this one was the worst one in their video. I'm not gonna say any names, and I'm like, there's a problem with that statement. Let's backtrack to the first ever America in-person go-to event, the one that was in Vegas. For those of you who wasn't there, the reason why there was a number of reasons why that one was the worst one. Actually, that one was the worst one because the park that they chose, rather, it was so big. This was arguably the biggest park Niantic had ever chosen for any Pokemon Go event. That include safari zones. That include, I ain't gonna say City Safari because that's the whole city, but that include GoFest. Like that, it was too big. It was way too big. And then to make matters worse, this one part of the park that they used was like a desert park. So you talk about dust and sand getting on people's feet, getting on people's pants, and just floating up in the air and stuff like that. It was so bad. And then the other part of the park, it was this large body of water that you have to walk around to get to the other side. I barely been to that side, to be perfectly honest. And then there was another part that was like a baseball field that you could use as well, and there was hardly anybody over there. It was too big. It was way too big. I did not like that park at all. That was a terrible park. And then the worst reason why that event, that go-to was the first go-to event, in-person one that is, was because the first 3 hours of it, nobody could connect to the game and play it on that Saturday. Nobody could connect to the game and play that game. It was terrible. So that event, the one in Vegas, I don't remember which one was that one. The one that was in Vegas, I believe that was the Hoenn Las Vegas version. That one was the worst go-tour event of them all. Because of the fact that the park was too big, they used a desert portion of the park for people to play with, again, sand and dust flying up all over the place. In the first 3 hours of that day of Saturday, nobody could play it. Everybody was having connection issues. So that was the worst one. And then let's talk about last year's. The main issue about last year was the fact that they only had 2 entrances into the actual park or the stadium. And you can't get to the golf course without going through the stadium. And lines were long. Lines were long, so the people who was there, they missed out on the first hour and a half to 2 hours on day 1 because of the fact that they were in line. Like, they couldn't play the game, they were in line. So now, I'm not gonna say last year was worse than this year's. Like, it's a toss-up. You could go either or because there was a lot to do in last year to the spawns. The spawns were better last year. But we can't ignore the fact that, people could not go in on that Saturday because of the fact that they were stuck in line. Like, they had only 2 lines. They fixed it either later on that day or the next day when they opened up another gate, and then they had 3 separate lines, and then they kept it like that this year because they learned the lesson from last year. And this year it was a 3-day event, whereas last year it was a 2-day event. Technically they had a day 0 last year, but it wasn't involving anything with the park. This year there was 3 days at the park, so there's that too. But the bottom line is this year's Unova LA, was it the best Go Tour? No, it's between that and last year's Go Tour event, but was it the worst one? Not even close. Not even close. Now we going into the global version of the event. I will admit, out of the 3 global Go Tours events, I caught the least amount of shinies this year than I did the previous 2 years. But then again, there were a lot more stuff that I was looking for in the previous 2 years as opposed to this year. And I talked about that because, again, the majority of the shinies for Unova were already in the game. So it was like when Global, and then of course I went to the in-person one. So when Global came up, I'm like, okay, I just need to hatch stuff, and I need to try and find like a few more dealings and a Gothita. And I did not get that one more Gothita. I got one in LA, but I needed another one. I didn't get it, unfortunately. So yeah, there's that. But it still doesn't change the fact that Mystic is right. The shiny rates were terrible for Global, and they have been terrible for Global over the course of the past 3 years. Now, the reason, again, I said this throughout the video, the reason for that is because of this. The first 2 global events, the one in 2021, pandemic year, and 2022 rather, both of those you had to pay. So yeah, the shinies rate would be higher because those were paid events. But after that, when they started to become free, the shiny rates did indeed drop, but it was like year after year after year, they have been getting worse. So yeah, he is correct on that. So they need to raise it back up to how it was 2 years ago when we talking about Hoenn. It was Hoenn. So the shiny rates need to be how they were with Hoenn. Because to me, that was my best time because I got more shinies, not only amongst the 3 global versions, but I got more shiny at that global event than I did at Vegas, which is crazy. So the shiny rates were indeed terrible this year in comparison to the past 2 years. I'm not going to count the first 2 years of Go Tour existence because, again, those were paid. But the bottom line is this: shiny rates needs to be a little bit higher. They need to match Hoenn. They need to match Hoenn. And at that point, the event would be fine. And they need to be more creative with the spawns because, again, we get to the point now where more and more of these shinies are already in the game for these regions. And it's like, well, we can't go for those because we already got those. So what now? So they got to come up with more creative ways to make these global Go Tour events more fun, and even the in-person ones as well. So there you go with that. That's my reaction to what Mr. Steph had to say about the Unova Tour, whether it was the global version or the LA version. Again, I have not heard anything about the new Taipei version. So if you've been in that one, let me know in the comment section below how that one was. And at the very end of this video, at the very end of this video, you should see 2 cards. One of them would be something that YouTube recommends. The other one would be the last video that I put out, which was news videos. And if you wish to spawn the video, leave in the comment section below Unova. If you wish to spawn the video, leave in the comment section below Unova. If you made it at this point, you're a real one. And let me know what you think about Unova Tour, the global version, since I know most of y'all didn't go to LA, y'all didn't go to New Taipei. Let me know what you think about the global. But if you did go to the LA one or the New Taipei one, especially the New Taipei one, let me know in the comment section below, how were those events for you guys? For those who did go to the in-person events, let me know how they were for you. And if you only did the global, let me know how it was for you in the comment section below. I'm gonna call it a wrap now. So with all that said, y'all know this boy New J Gas Speak, aka New Stephen A. Smith, saying peace out, y'all, and I'll see y'all next time. Yeah.
Subscribe.
Thanks, man.
Do it.
After you subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the bell icon so you never miss a new video or a live stream ever again. Thanks, guys.
Blue is the trainer, articulating paint. With my tongue, I done things that people said I can't. Now they rank 'em with the elite, but it's for the people, and victory is part of defeat. Cause when you get back on your feet, then you try again. Learn from mistakes, show 'em that I got what it takes, and I'm dying to win. I'ma hit and move away.